Hey, what's going on, guys? Lex back again for another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can wet sand and buff your paint job. All right. Okay, guys. So about a week and a half ago, I actually repainted the front bumper of my car. I sprayed it with the red color match base coat, and I did 4 coats of clear coat. The first coat was a light coat, just like a mist coat. Second coat was a little bit heavier, and then I did 2 heavy coats for 4 coats total. But you see, the paint job has a bit of orange peel in it. This is actually a lot more than normal. I actually used the Spray Max 2K clear coat in the spray cans for this one. I do have a paint gun, but I just felt like using the spray cans for this one because this is actually the second time I repainted it, because when I used my spray gun, I ended up spraying it on way too thick and I got a lot of paint runs, so I had to start all over because the paint runs, I just wasn't able to get them out. So I just took the bumper back off and did it all over again. But up here, yesterday, I wet sanded and buffed it, and you can see how clear the finish is. You can actually see my reflection there, okay? Look at how good that looks. See, there you go, okay? So it's nice and clear up here, okay? But right, like down here, and this area up here is the only one I've did so far. But down here, we're gonna fix this, okay? All right, guys, so before we start, it's a good idea to clean down whatever you're gonna be working on. So this whole front bumper, like from here down, I'm just gonna take a bottle. This is just water and isopropyl alcohol, and we're going to just wipe down the panel, because if there's any dirt on the panel, when we start sanding it, the dirt could get caught underneath the sandpaper, and then you'll put really deep scratches in it, okay? So just wanna make sure everything is wiped off and clean. And you can see I took off my license plate right here so I can get into this area right here. Yeah, guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe down the other side too. And also, guys, since I'm not gonna be sanding this area over here past the bumper, I'm actually gonna tape off this area right here, just so when I'm sanding it, I don't accidentally knock into this area. I just wanna get this sanded over here. So I'm just gonna take some tape like this. And I'm just going
Yo, it's Lex here. Did any of you guys notice that my rims are back to being the factory silver color again, and I took the Plasti Dip off? Leave a comment. What do you think?
This area over here, so that way I don't accidentally sand it. So let me show you guys. See, got the tape. I'm just gonna run some more tape down here and then around the signal light right here, okay? And then we're gonna sand everything over here. So right here, I've actually got some 2000 grit sandpaper, and we're gonna start off with this. You could go down to 1500, but I just don't think it's really necessary. I started with 2000 up here on the bumper yesterday, and that worked just fine to knock down the orange peel. We're just trying to get the surface flat so that when we buff it, it'll bring back the shine, okay? So this is just some water in a spray bottle, and we're just gonna get the sandpaper wet, get the panel wet. And I'm gonna basically start from like here upward and get this area right here, and I'm gonna sand it a little bit by hand, okay? You can do it by hand like this, okay? And make sure, see these like sharp corners right here? You wanna try to stay away from those, because you can easily burn through the clear coat. So if you do hit those, as I get closer to the corner right here, I'm gonna use light pressure. You don't need to push down hard, okay? And we're just gonna sand down all that orange peel, okay? You can actually see the white liquid coming down. That's the clear coat, okay? And this is just 2000 grit sandpaper, guys, and this will knock it down just fine. So let me go ahead and show you guys. So now what I'm gonna do is just grab a damp microfiber cloth and wipe down all that liquid clear coat that dried on the panel, so we can get a look. So you see, guys, if you see right, like in this area is flat, but over here you see have a lot of glossy spots left. That needs to get sanded down, okay? Because if you don't sand that, you'll see it after you buff it, okay? So we got to continue sanding this area, but like right over here in this, okay, but you see like right here, it's a dull, like kind of dull finish. That's what we want it to look like right there. But all these glossy spots, we got to keep sanding those and get rid of those, okay? And guys, make sure when you're sanding, keep your fingers closed like this. Don't sand it with your fingers open, keep them closed, and go side to side like this. You see, you don't want to have your fingers open and go like that, because you'll leave finger marks, okay? So fingers closed and go side to side like this. And I've got my thumb holding it on the back side like that, okay? And guys, again, I don't know if you can see it, but like right here, there's like a body line on the bumper. So I'm just being real careful not to go over that. So I'll sand like above it right here, and then I'll come down below it and get this part down here, okay? When it's hard to glide the sandpaper, just take some more water, spray it, and keep going. It's also good to try to go in different directions, go side to side like this, and you can also go up and down. So let's go ahead and wipe it down and see what we got, okay? And guys, also if you have a heat gun, you can dry off the panel quicker, okay? But the sun is kind of hitting it a little bit, so it already dried up. All right guys, so as you see, this area over here is pretty much done. There's like a few like little glossy spots right down here, a little bit more up here. So we just need to hit these areas a little bit more and get it to where it looks like this. There are no glossy dots anywhere, okay? And then it'll be finished, okay? And as far as down here on the bumper, I might go to like here and stop and not go any further because this part is just so far to the ground, it doesn't even really matter. So I might stop like here and just sand everything from here upward, okay? And guys, also if you want to speed up the process, you can use an electric sander. I've got this DeWalt palm sander right here. I'm gonna use this. You just gotta be careful with it, all right? But if you're not comfortable doing that, you can do it by hand. But I've got the same 2000 grit paper on here, and we're just gonna, you know, sand it just like that, okay? So let's go ahead and get this thing hooked up. And guys, when using the electric sander, make sure to stay away from the corners, okay? I'm not gonna go anywhere near these corners with the palm sander. What I'll do is I'll come back by hand and get those edges right there, okay? Make sure you just do that by hand. It's just a way to be a lot more careful, okay? And I'm gonna wear some headphones because these things are loud. I don't like the noise. So you're gonna use an electric sander, just get a little bit wet, spray your area. So this wide area right here, we're gonna get that with the sander.
And guys, after you've been sanding with the same piece of sandpaper for a while, you can change it to a fresh sheet of paper. You know, you might start to notice that your sandpaper is just not cutting as fast as it was at first. So just keep an eye on that. Feel free to change your sandpaper to a fresh one at any time. For this entire front bumper, I actually used the same sheet of 2000 grit sandpaper on the electric sander for the whole entire bumper.
All right, guys, so it's been about a minute or so. Let's go ahead and wipe it down and see what we got. For like every, you know, depending on how big of an area you do, just periodically check just to make sure you're not sanding too much, okay? So let's plug our heat gun in. You don't need to put it too close, right? See, we're drying it off. And keep it moving. All right, guys, so as you see, the sander made pretty quick work. You see like over here, that's all gone. You still see a little bit of glossy spots over here. Right here, we'll just have to go over these areas again, and then like up here, it's still glossy. I'll just hit that by hand. And you see again, body line right here, I stayed off of that with the sander, okay? I'm gonna probably just get this area by hand since it's so thin, but you might've noticed I kept the sander away from here, okay? And I just went over this big flat area, okay? But anyway, guys, I think you get the idea. I'm just gonna keep doing the rest of the left half of this bumper, and I'll come back. Okay, guys, it's probably been about 30 minutes since the last update, and I think we got it. All that orange peel is gone. There are no more glossy spots anywhere. I mean, that right there, you can see that. I think that's what painters call trash. That's just like a piece of dirt that got into the clear coat. I'm not gonna try to sand that out. You know, I'm just not gonna be able to get that out. And plus when we buff it, it'll go away anyway. You can see there's like a little bitty glossy dots right there. I'm not gonna worry about it. I pretty much got it all. So all over here. So this is the left side. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side next, guys. And also, guys, like I said, you can see down here, I didn't sand any of this. So I stopped like about right here, and all this down here is not sanded because it's just so low to the ground. I'm just not gonna worry about it. But everything up here, sanded. I did not sand this, by the way. I might do that at a later time because it's just in like kind of a narrow area right here. So I'll probably get that some other time. And I also stopped right here as well. I didn't do this part up here as well. I just stopped like right there and got all this, okay? And also, guys, after I get done with the 2000 grit on the bumper, we'll go ahead and go up to 3000 grit and then do the whole thing again, and then it'll be ready to buff, all right?
All right, guys, here I am on the other side of the bumper now. I'm still just using that same sheet of 2000 grit sandpaper. I did not grab a fresh one. Again, I'm just knocking off most of the bulk with the electric sander. It really helps speed up the process. And then I put down the electric sander, grab a piece of sandpaper, and do the rest by hand. All right, guys, so I went over the other side of the bumper with the palm sander to knock the bulk of it off. And here I am using the heat gun again, drying it off to check my work and check the spots that I have not sanded yet. The first grit that you use to knock down all the orange peel is definitely the most time-consuming process, just because you have to constantly check to see what you haven't sanded and make sure that everything gets sanded. But yeah, it can take a while, but once we get to the 3000 grit, it'll be a breeze after that, because you don't necessarily have to be too meticulous about it. Because even if you miss a spot with the 3000 grit, while 3000 grit scratches are a lot easier to buff out, 2000 grit scratches are also pretty easy to buff out. So even if you didn't sand over some 2000 grit scratches with the 3000, it's not going to make that big of a difference. And I also showed a close-up on the camera, guys. You saw that flat block I was using. I took my 2000 grit sandpaper, put it on that flat 3M block, and started going over the panel by hand. Like I said, the electric sander gets the bulk of it off, and then I just do it by hand to get the areas that I missed. And you also see me doing the outer, the edge of the fender right there by hand. That's just too small of an area for the electric sander. But yeah, let's just go ahead and keep this going, and let's finish this up. All right, guys, so yes, in this area right here, it's pretty thin, and I'm using this big block. I'm just making sure that when I go over, I'm just keeping the block flat, and I'm not pushing down on these corners right here, okay? So I'm not like pushing down on the corner like that or pushing down. I'm just keeping it flat right there. I even go like this, and just make sure you keep it flat so that way you don't burn through these corners. Also, you should only be seeing the white milky clear coat. If you see, my car is red, for example, if I was to see red coming down, that means I sanded too much and there's a base coat coming through. So you don't want that to happen. So make sure just stay away from these corners and just keep it flat, okay? So you see, even with that flat block up here, these areas don't seem to be getting sanded down. There's still a lot of glossy spots. So in that case, take a small piece of sandpaper, get it wet, and we're just gonna go along right there. Making sure, again, staying away from that corner. We're not gonna go up here. We're just keeping our fingers right there and sanding along that edge, and also on the bottom too. All right, guys, so I think we got it. We cut most of the bulk off with the electric sander, and then I come back and do it by hand on like the edges and places that are kind of hard to get to. It takes a long time, because you have to keep checking your work over and over again to make sure you're not sanding too much, so, and the bumper has a lot of like curves and narrow areas, so it takes a lot longer. But yeah, it's probably been like over an hour since I started, but I think we got it. There's no more orange peel left anywhere. Okay, so now we're gonna do 3000 grit, and you don't have to spend as much time on that, because even if you don't get all the 2000 grit scratches out, they'll still be able to be buffed out. So, all right, guys, so we got 3000 grit sandpaper right here. I'm gonna take the 2000 off of here. We're gonna start off with the electric sander. I'm just gonna go over the areas, and then after I do that, I'll just quickly take some 3000 by hand and just quickly go over the rest of the areas. Like I said, you don't need to spend as much time. The first grit of sandpaper that you use, in this case we use 2000, that is the one you want to spend the most time on. You see, you just clip it in like that, and then this is too long, so I'm just gonna kind of take it and just rip it a little bit. Okay, guys, now we got it. It's nice and flat on here, okay? And yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Wear ear protection again. Now, guys, while I am sanding down basically every single place on the whole bumper that has orange peel, I'm getting rid of all of it so I can have a show car mirror finish. You guys don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to. If you'd rather have a little bit of orange peel and retain some of the factory finish, or have it look like a factory finish, you don't have to sand on all the orange, but you can just kind of like lightly go over everything with 2000 and then 3000, and you'll still have some orange peel. All right, guys, and we are all done with the 3000. Now I'm just taking a damp rag and cleaning off all this clear coat off the car. This gets your car real messy, All right, guys, and I just wanted to show you that after the 3000, you can actually see, the reflection come back. You see that? All right, now we just got to buff it out, all right?
All right, guys, so we knocked down all that orange peel and all the texture left over from the paint job. Now it's completely flat. Now we just got to buff it out and bring the shine back, okay? So what I'm going to use is some compounding polish. This is Meguiar's Diamond Cut Polish, number 85. You can also use this one, Meguiar's Ultra Cut Compound. This one is pretty good, 105. You can see it says extra cut. This one is also heavy cut. Now you want a heavy cut compound because if you try to use like a regular polish, it's not going to be abrasive enough to get rid of the 3,000 grit scratches, okay? So I recommend starting off with a heavy cut compound and also getting a heavy cut pad, like this wool pad right here, or you can use a sponge pad, foam pad like this. That's also a heavy cut. Just make sure it says it's a heavy cut pad because you have like heavy cut, polish, medium cut, finishing pads. You know, you have all kinds of different pads. So start off with a heavy cut pad. And what buffer to use? This is a Max Shine dual action buffer. So it spins dual, meaning two this way, but it also, like the whole thing spins like this as well. It turns, I don't know if I'll be able to show you, but you know, the whole thing spins like this, and then this spins like that as well. So it spins on two different axes, right? And what that does is it limits the amount of heat on the that you put on the paint. There's less friction. But this right here, this is a Bauer rotary, so it just spins one direction, and that's it, right? So this cuts faster because there's more heat on the paint. Maybe use a DA. Yeah, see, it just spins that way, and that's it. But if you've never buffed a car before, I recommend maybe starting off with a dual action, because that way you'll have less of a risk of damaging your paint. But I'm gonna use my rotary today with a wool pad, and the way I clean these off is I just turn it on, take a microfiber, and just kind of do this. And that gets any leftover compound that was left in there, so I do that pretty often. And all we're gonna do is just buff this out. So I'm gonna keep it on like maybe 1800. I'm not gonna go that fast with it because there's just no need to. And like these areas, like these small areas right there, I'm probably gonna bump it down to like either 600 or 1,000, and that should be good enough. But you don't need to use a lot of pressure, just lightly. And when you get to like these corners and edges, use even more light pressure, okay? So first we're gonna take the compound and shake it up real good. I'm gonna wear my headphones again. I'm gonna cover my face with an old t-shirt because you don't want this stuff getting inside your nose and all that, so.
All right, guys, so as you see right here, I'm just gonna start off with a small like rectangular area that I outlined with my finger there. And as you see, I'm gonna put the compound directly on the paint. You can put it directly on the wool pad. I just think it's easier to put it directly on the paint. And what you're gonna see me do is I'm gonna take the rotary with the wool pad, and I'm gonna take the wool pad, rub the compound into the paint, and just make sure it gets evenly distributed. Then I'm gonna put it on the lowest speed, which is 600 RPMs on mine, and just make sure that it gets evenly distributed onto the panel that I'm working on, right? And then right about there, you see me bump up the speed to about like 1400. Yeah, there we go. And which is not that high of a speed, guys. My rotary buffer goes up to 3,500 RPMs, but 14 or 1800 is pretty good. You see me getting the edges on the fender right there. And in a minute, I'm gonna show exactly, I'm gonna explain what I'm doing when I get to the edges right there and how to hold the buffer to make sure you don't accidentally mess something up. But you can clearly see, look at the area that I'm doing. The shine has already come back, okay?
All right, guys, now check this out. This is the part that I did not do. This is just after one pass. Look at that shine. All the shine came right back. See, it don't take much, right? Just that one, like I spent maybe like a minute. It's all that shine is back, all right? Now guys, you can use the flashlight on your phone or use a bigger flashlight, but you can still see there are still some little teeny scratches left behind. The compound won't get them all out, but when we go to the polishing steps, we'll get out the rest of those scratches. You can also do one more pass with the compound here to get some of those scratches out. That's probably what I'll do. I'll do like 2 passes on each section, but as you see, scratches up here, you can see them. And as we get down here, the scratches start to disappear, see? So definitely use a flashlight to your advantage to check. The sun is also good, but it's usually not a good idea to polish when the sun is out because the clear coat will get too hot and it just won't work that good. That's a good tip because I've never ever heard anyone explain that before. You know, I really just, I don't recommend polishing when the sun is out. Do it on a cloudy day or in your garage where there's no sunlight or something. Also guys, something really important, you might have noticed that I was kind of using it at an angle like this, using it at an angle, sometimes not too much like this, but you know, because there's just a lot of contours and stuff here, you sometimes have to do that. And when I was on this edge right here, you noticed I went like this. The buffer is spinning this way. You want it to go away from the edge like that. And I've kept it tilted a little bit down, right? Because if I was to go at it this way and the buffer is spinning that way, it's going to spin directly into that and it could rip off some of the paint. I've done that before, so don't do that. You always want the buffer spinning away from the edge and keep the backside lifted up like that and go at it like that, okay? So like right here, what I would probably do is do it like this, tilt it at an angle, and go like that. And the buffer would be spinning like this, okay? And just use very light pressure, and I would just go like that, okay? Now guys, just to show both, I'm gonna use the DA for this next section up here, and we'll see how that goes as well. And guys, as you notice with the DA, I decided to put the compound directly on the pad and then just dab it onto the place that I want to work on. Again, you can do it either or. I'm just showing you both ways. And again, with the DA is a lot safer. It doesn't create as much heat on the paint. So it's a lot more forgiving than the rotary. So you don't have to be as careful with it. You know, I think it's a lot better for like a beginner. But you see what I did there? I just kind of ran the DA, let it go in a small area like that for like 10 seconds. That's called priming the pad. It just kind of gets the compound all into the pad because you don't want the pad to be dry or anything. Then I came back, put 2 more dots of compound on the pad, and then here I go again, and now I'm actually, you know, buffing out the panel now. And you'll see I'll actually go down to the bottom half of the bumper as well. Also guys, when using the DA, but especially with the rotary as well, you don't want to stay in one area for too long. Especially with the rotary, you want to keep it moving. Don't just keep it in one area because you can burn the paint. Like the paint will get so hot from all that friction that it'll actually start to bubble up. So you just, you know, you really want to keep the thing moving. Again, if you're not sure what to do for your first time using it, use a lower speed. All right, guys, and look at that. The DA also brought the shine back, and I also went down here again with it. Look at that. You can read what's on the bottle right here. Look at that. So now guys, we're gonna go ahead and do the rest of the car with the compound, okay? And also guys, again, use a flashlight. You can still see some of the scratches. So use a flashlight to check again, you know, because the shine will come back, but there can still be some scratches left, okay? Okay guys, and here's a clip of me doing the other side of the bumper with the compound and the wool pad. And guys, just some more tips that I'm thinking of as this video goes along. You don't have to get every single last itty bitty little scratch out of the paint. It's just not necessary, you know, because the more you buff it, the more clear coat you're removing, because that's what you're doing when you polish a car. You're removing a tiny, we're talking like a micrometer, like thin layer of clear coat to get rid of those scratches. So you don't need to buff like constantly until all the scratches are removed. Every pass you make, just check with a flashlight, and once the majority of the scratches are gone, you should be good. And here I am about to do the top of the bumper, that really like inch wide flat part of the bumper up there. And I'm gonna show you guys this because it's a really important point I wanna make. You wanna make sure you use, if you're gonna use a rotary buffer, you wanna make sure you do it right. So watch how I'm holding the rotary. I'm actually holding it incorrectly right here, but I'm gonna change it in just a second. There we go. See, I've got it tilted to the right, and I'm moving my arm in a clockwise motion to show that, hey, the rotary is spinning clockwise, and again, it's spinning away from the edge, okay? As you see, I've also got it on a slight angle. I'm using light pressure. I don't even have both my hands on it. I'm just barely not even pressing down, just lightly, ever so lightly, buffing that edge right there, okay? And I think at the beginning of the clip, I showed my speed. I was just using 600 RPMs, the lowest speed. Okay, guys, when you're on these small areas, there's no need to go fast, okay? All right, guys, so I've pretty much compounded the whole entire bumper right here. So now what we're gonna do is take some of our alcohol spray and just wipe all that compounding residue off for the next step, because we're gonna polish, and if you still have compound residue on there, then it's gonna be like, you know, you're still using the compound, which is what you don't wanna do. We've already done that step. So we wanna get all that compound residue off. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe down everything, and we'll start the next step. Guys, so for this next part, we've already done the compound. We got a lot of that. We cut a lot of the scratches out. Now we just kind of need to polish and refine. So I'm gonna use Meguiar's Ultimate Polish. This just happens to be what I have. There are lots of other polishes out there, okay? Just make sure that it's not a compound. You want something that says polish on it. And I'm also gonna switch to a different pad. This is a polish pad, okay? Just any pad that's a polish pad. You don't wanna get a compound pad or a heavy cut pad. Something like medium cut or polish pad, anything like that will work, okay? But this is a yellow one that I have. And we're just gonna do the same thing again. Again, guys, I'm gonna dab it on, then rub it on, then turn it on the lowest speed and evenly distribute it, then bump up the speed to like 1400 or 1800, and then go across the bumper. I should also mention, guys, that this entire thing we're doing here can get kind of messy, so, you know, just don't wear really good clothes or something. You know, I'm just wearing like a old set of flip-flops and, you know, just a pair of swim trunks, you know, so don't wear good clothes when you do this, because it can get kind of messy. Even when you're polishing, the polish can fly all over the place sometimes. And guys, again, just make sure between each step, so between compound and polish, and between polish and finishing polish, you know, make sure you take some alcohol or something and wipe it off, all right? All right, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, all right? Can you read that? Look at how reflective that is. Crazy, huh? Looking really good, guys. But this is really something you would only want to do if you recently painted your car. You probably wouldn't want to wet sand, you know, good factory paint, unless your car is like, I don't know, maybe if you have like a scratch somewhere. But if you do this on a car that has good paint, I would just stick with 3000 grit. That should be good enough, okay? Because you don't want to remove too much of that clear coat, all right? Okay, guys, this third and final step here is not something you technically need to do, but I do it anyway because I happen to have a finishing pad. Again, the pad that you want for this step is just any kind of finishing pad, not a compound pad, not a polishing pad, but a finishing pad. And I'm gonna use Meguiar's 205 Ultra Finishing Polish, okay? You see the cut? It's a very low cut, so this is just like a super, super fine abrasive that's just gonna, you know, just refine any little imperfections that are still on there, okay? So let's go ahead and do this last one. And for finishing polishes and even regular polishes, you don't need a whole lot. It goes a long way, so. Now guys, another question. How much time do you spend polishing and compounding each section that you do? That's all gonna depend. I spent maybe 30 seconds to a minute on each section that I did. It's really complicated on this particular video because I'm doing the front bumper. Like I said, there's a lot of different shapes and contours on the bumper. But the main thing I was doing here was just focusing on not staying in one area too long, watching my edges. And as always, after you do a pass, you can use a flashlight to check to see how much of the scratches are gone, and you can go over it again if necessary, but spend less time than you think you need.
And guys, I must say, look at that finished product, man. I mean, this is basically a mirror finish, show car finish, whatever you want to call it, but dang, man. This did take quite a long time for me to do, probably like 2 to 3 hours, but man, it is rewarding at the end because your car is going to be shiny as heck, man. And just recall, guys, this is what the bumper looked like at first. Look at all the orange peel, all the texture, and then this is after. Mirror finish, looks super good. If you're ever out camping or something and you forgot your mirror and you need to shave your face, you can just use the car to shave your face. But let's go ahead and wrap this video up, guys. It's getting a little bit long.
All right, guys, so I hope this video helps some of you guys. Just some little last minute tips from me. By the way, I've been using polishers, rotaries, and DAs for about a year now. The highest speed that I went to on this front bumper here was, I think, 1400. I didn't go past that. Another thing I wanted to say is that when you first start, sometimes you would see me put the polish on the bumper itself, and I take the pad, dab it on, and rub it in. Then I set it to the lowest speed, work it in, make sure it gets everywhere and covers the whole area I want to do. Then I'll bump up the speed a little bit and go around everywhere I need to go. That helps, you know, evenly disperse the polish. Again, guys, on like little teeny areas like this right here, pick a lower speed. Like I think I did either 600 or 1000 on these little teeny areas, you know, and you just want to use light pressure when you're going on these corners. I'm not pushing down really hard, but it's just really hard to do on this bumper because there's so many like little narrow areas and little things that I have to get around. So, but you know, and I had to bend over in awkward positions, but we got it done. And yeah, leave a comment, guys. Let me know what you think. Doesn't the bumper look good? But all right, I'll catch you guys later.